So welcome to History AI. Today we are taking a look at the 100 Years' War, looking at the origins and causes, the conflicts to the long-lasting legacy of the conflict. When Philip VI of France confiscated the duchy of Guyenne in 1337, setting off the 100 Years' War, the stage was set for a dramatic saga that would reshape medieval Europe. This conflict, rooted in claims of lineage and feudal allegiances, unfolded over a century, influencing the political, social and military landscapes of England and France. The groundwork for this landscape of conflict was laid by the history of English kings, holding significant territories in France, a tension-ridden setup dating back to William the Conqueror. In 1066, William succeeded in claiming the English throne while also holding on to his French territories. Over time, these English rulers of French lands, known as the Angevin Empire under Henry II, caused tension across the Channel. By 1154, significant portions of modern-day France were under the control of the English monarch. This setup was further complicated by complex feudal allegiances, making English kings nominally subservient to French monarchs. The notion of what constituted legitimate claims over these lands and titles exacerbated matters. Edward III's claim to the French throne was rooted in his bloodline. His mother was Isabella of France, a direct descendant of the French monarchy. Although women couldn't ascend to the French throne, Edward used this lineage to stake his claims, intertwining rightful succession with territorial disputes. Thus, when Edward III laid claim to the French crown, it wasn't just about who ruled what piece of land. It was about honouring centuries of heritage, complex feudal laws and family lineage, all tangled up with national pride and the strategic advantage of controlling vast and wealthy areas of Western Europe. With such a fusion of power, heritage and territorial possession at stake, what followed was a series of battles and temporary truces, making the 100 Years' War a significant event in the history of both England and France. This war was a manifestation of dynastic pride and the medieval assertion of feudal rights cascading through generations. Edward III of England, who claimed the French throne through his mother Isabella of France, setting the stage for the 100 Years' War. Several pivotal battles stand out in the 100 Years' War, each shaping the course of medieval European history. The early English victories at Crécy and Poitiers unsettled the French and demonstrated lethal developments in military technology and battlefield tactics. At the Battle of Crécy in 1346, Edward III of England unveiled the devastating potential of the longbow. The English archers, positioned advantageously on high ground, cut down waves of French knights and infantry. The French forces were paralysed by the efficiency of this new ranged weapon, enabling a smaller English force to achieve a stunning victory against a numerically superior enemy. Similarly, at the Battle of Poitiers in 1356, under the command of Edward's son, the Black Prince, the English forces captured the French king, John II. Holding a king captive was an enormous psychological blow and a literal ransom worth a king's fortune, further crippling French morale and their ability to wage war effectively. Yet, the momentum would eventually shift. This was highlighted through the heroics at the Siege of Orléans, where a turning point was etched into the war's narrative. This siege, lasting from October 1428 until May 1429, was lifted thanks to the inspirational leadership of Joan of Arc. Her involvement revitalized the French cause and infused nationalistic pride that shifted the tide of war in favor of the Valois dynasty. The subsequent battles following this revival led by Joan began sealing France's upper hand. The crowning military validation came at the Battle of Castillon in 1453, where France employed its newly developed cannon to decisively defeat the English, marking the end of the 100 Years' War. This battle effectively sealed French control over all of France, except Calais, which remained under English domain temporarily. Each battle swung the pendulum of victory back and forth, from English dominance to French resurgence. These battlegrounds were crucibles where strategies were tested, heroes were made, and the destinies of two nations were shaped. The Battle of Crécy in 1346, where English longbowmen decimated the French forces, demonstrating the power of this new weapon and changing the course of the 100 Years' War. Beneath the military conquests, deeper currents of dynastic aspirations swirled throughout the 100 Years' War. These aspirations were tethered to the national welfare of both England and France. The ongoing struggles put a strain on the lineage of Plantagenet and Valois, with each hoping to cement its legacy as legitimate rulers of France. The Treaty of Troyes in 1420 marked a fascinating spectacle of dynastic dance. The French king Charles VI declared Henry V of England as regent and heir apparent to the French throne. This meant that after Charles's death, the crowns of France and England might be united under a single monarch. However, Henry V's untimely death in 1422, followed closely by Charles VI's demise only months later, loaded tremendous pressure on the young and inexperienced Henry VI. The mantle of leadership proved too burdensome for him to shoulder amidst intense court politics, setting the stage for France's resurgent efforts under Charles VII, aided significantly by Joan of Arc's inspiring exploits. Simultaneously, this crossfire of dynastic claims deeply impacted English royal lineage, effectuating the emergence of the House of Lancaster. The ambition-riddled heir, compounded by continuing costs from protracted fighting and frustrations over lack of solid victories in later phases of the war, precipitated fertile ground for the War of the Roses, an internal strife that pitted Lancastrian supporters against those from the House of York. The temporary dynastic bridging through the Treaty of Troyes seemed a possible dilution of French sovereign existence. However, it instead invigorated the foundation beneath Charles VII. His reclamation endeavours, bolstered by smarter tactical applications and national unity, showcased the rebirth of definite French territories from English rulers and a coherent French identity philosophy rejoined away from feudal fragmentation. Thus, as the 100 Years' War unfolded across battlefields and diplomatic tables, it was a saga corked tightly with aspirations and intimidations within royal halls just as much as it was on war landscapes. Plantagenets and Valois, nested within their towering castles or pitched field tents, plotted and paraded doctrines that appraised imperial entitlement. Each move amid the clashing of swords or whispered conspiracies wove tighter the multicultural fabric characterizing medieval Europe. The Treaty of Troyes in 1420, which recognized Henry V of England as the regent and heir to the French throne, showing the complex dynastic politics and shifting alliances of the 100 Years' War. The prolonged duration and incessant warfare of the 100 Years' War reshaped political landscapes and ingrained profound economic and societal scars on both England and France. The fabric of French towns and countrysides bore the brunt of continuous bloodshed and military campaigns, rendering vast agricultural lands into desolate patches. The incessant conflicts impeded trade routes, hindering English wool from permeating continental markets and obstructing the flow of French wines. This declining trade severed a crucial financial vein to both economies, at a time when treasury coffers were drained by war funding. In England, the constant tug-of-war over French dominion ensnared the kingdom's financial health. Wars are expensive. Edward III, in a desperate bid for funds, instigated 27 rounds of tax collections during his reign. Standard approaches proved insufficient to fill war chests or repair a fracturing economy. From such desperation arose the innovation of tax collection forms and a push towards a more structured approach to handling fiscal deficiencies. These financial exigencies, throttled by the spiralling costs of maintaining a warfront overseas, were exacerbated by the imposition of high levies that instigated exasperation and eventually germinated seeds of unrest among the English populace. In France, the persistence of wartime impelled an evolution in governance structures, reluctantly birthing a bureaucracy poised around tax collection and maintenance. These emergent structures bulwarked royal finances, fostering enduring capillaries to regulate and sustain state revenues. Alongside financial upheaval, both countries confronted societal shifts. France's agrarian substrate, repeatedly shattered by wartime operations, found compensation in strategic urban refinements. As France gradually mutated into a centralized structure under monarchical dominance post-war, England inked its saga of political maturation amidst turmoil. The dialogue between monarchy and aristocracy strained into proclamations fostering parliamentary prominence. The 100 Years' War cultivated a field ripe with social transformation for both nations. The relentless nature of the conflict forced resilient adaptations not just on battlefields, but within economic arenas that proceeded to paradigmatically pivot markets and societal norms in enduring ripples. Beyond every battle's toll recounted through immediate sufferings lay the subdued narrative of trade hallways, silenced and market plummets shadowed by escalation steeping silently within civilian lives. The economic and social consequences of the 100 Years' War on England and France, including disrupted trade, drained treasuries, devastated agricultural lands, and changes in governance and society. The conclusion of the 100 Years' War at the Battle of Castillon in 1453 marked a significant turning point in the long-standing conflict between England and France. This pivotal battle not only shifted territorial control in favour of the French, but also highlighted the military innovations of the period that altered warfare tactics. The English, who had previously relied on the longbow, were outmanoeuvred by the French use of artillery, setting the stage for the increasing importance of gunpowder in future European conflicts. The loss at Castillon forced England to relinquish its hold on French territories, keeping only the Pale of Calais. This outcome signified the changing power dynamics, with the decline of English dominion on the continent and the rise of a centralising French state under the Valois dynasty. The 100 Years' War played a crucial role in shaping national identities for both England and France. The conflict helped to unify disparate feudal territories under central authority, particularly in France, directly influencing domestic consolidation and strengthening national identity. In England, the war's end intensified internal divisions, leading to periods of civil unrest and power struggles as depicted in the Wars of the Roses. The war also accelerated military evolution, with technologies and tactics developed on the battlefield shaping a more modern approach to warfare. The use of gunpowder artillery, prominently showcased at Castillon, marked the transition from medieval to early modern military principles, emphasizing technological and strategic innovation. The 100 Years' War had far-reaching consequences beyond territorial boundaries and national treasuries. It reshaped Europe's power structure and paved the way for the ideological and technological advancements that characterized the Renaissance and subsequent periods. The conflict highlighted human resilience and adaptability in the face of prolonged adversity, while also underscoring the shift towards the emergence of modern Europe from its feudal past. As feudal jurisdictions transformed into nation-states with centralized authorities, both England and France gained valuable lessons in sovereignty and governance that would define their monarchies for centuries to come. The war's legacy transcended the immediate battlefields, shaping each nation's trajectory towards the Renaissance, armed with new understandings of governance, military strategy, and national identity, forged through the crucible of extended warfare.